Welcome to the What Are We Doing Phillies podcast. Today's guest is Mark Fishman, lifelong Phillies fan and Kevin's grandfather.
Well, in Day Game Cleveland's words, my goodness, free agency. Kyle Schwarber is signed with the Phillies on a 5-year, $150 million contract, $30 million a year. Edwin Diaz has signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers for a 3-year, $69 million, $23 million per year contract with the LA Dodgers. And luckily that happened on a day where I'm doing these interview podcasts, this interview series, or we're going to change the name to guest series because it makes more sense. Not really doing interviews, we're just having like a guest on the podcast because that's kind of what it has been after a conversation with Mom and some other people to figure that out. So today we brought a longtime veteran guest onto the podcast. Been here a few times during the season while we were getting all this stuff together in the playoffs. And I don't think we've actually heard from you on the airwaves of the podcast since that playoff. I don't know if we did a playoff recap show. I think it was just before we did the group one with me, you, and Caleb.
That was the last one I was on, was the group one. Yes.
Yes. So Grandpop has joined us again, and thank you, Winter Meetings, for giving me finally something to talk about. Maybe they heard my conversation with Mr. Mullally about Schwarber and Alonso and all these type of things. So what is your gut reaction to the Phillies move that only happened a few hours ago at this point?
Yeah, it's interesting because they were saying that probably Schwarber would sign during the meetings. And the fact that it came up today seems like they were pretty well prepared. I think it's a reasonable contract considering the other long-term contracts they have. And I'm certainly glad that he's going to be a Philly probably for the rest of his career.
Yeah, as Caleb wrote down the numbers, a 926 OPS last season, 56 home runs, 132 RBIs, and a 240 batting average. Other 3 years with the Phillies, his OPS is in the low 800s, and he's got mid-40 home runs. So that's the guy you probably expect to get.
Yeah, and generally, what do we care how much he makes? The only problem that comes in is you don't want that to interfere with the ability to get other players. And I think considering he was making about $20 million a year, the extra 10 doesn't seem all that significant in the whole general scheme of things.
I like that he's back here. I never really care how much the guys make. That doesn't bother me. What does is I really don't want him to be like falling apart by the 4th or 5th year. I feel like this whole team's going to be falling apart in the end of these contracts because there's so many of these poor contracts on the team. Turner's contract is not a very good contract. Bryce Harper's asking for more years for some reason. That's not a very good contract. Aaron Nola, I don't know what he's on now. Who knows how that's going to look. There's 5 more years on that contract. Just like, we're in a bad rut with a lot of not good contracts and the amount of years on these people. They are hard to get rid of if you put this much money into them. Yes, they are trying to win a World Series. I get that. We also have to know that when we get to the end of his contract, or the end, that'll be also near the end of Turner's contract, and near the end of these contracts, you need young presence on this team because this might not keep you going, and they haven't won with this core in the playoffs. So there's always going to be that little concern when you see that the amount of years on
this is definitely going to be a problem 3 or 4 years from now. Mm-hmm. But it's the old thing, let's worry about today. We'll worry about tomorrow.
Yep. So at least he's back and we don't have to think about Pete Alonso.
Correct. And now I hope they incorporate the young players. They have to do something to bring the young players up. The Phillies have always had this slow movement of bringing the young players, and take Ryan Howard, I don't know, what was he, 26 when he came up? I mean, sometimes it's ridiculous. And they got these guys percolating in the minor leagues for years, and let's see what they can do.
Yes, there's a lot of conversation we'll get into with the Phillies and that whole deal, and one more big free agent move, which is, I read it off at the beginning of the episode, and this one was the top. I figured out the Schwarber news. I was in the middle of D'Onofrio's class when this happened, and I figured out Schwarber news when Caleb put it on our note, and I read, my goodness, for aging, I read the Schwarber thing. Then I opened the MLB.com, and then I saw the Edwin Diaz thing. He wasn't done typing the Diaz thing once I saw the Schwarber thing, because we're on the shared document. So he wasn't done typing about Edwin Diaz. So I didn't see, and I open up the MLB thing, and I see a picture of Schwarber and a picture of Edwin Diaz. And I'm like, just not in the NL East. I don't really need anyone else going to the Dodgers. Well, he went to the Dodgers.
Yeah, and how unfortunate that is.
It just, he's on the Dodgers, and his ERAs over the last few years, he was very, very good this year. Very good reliever, but he also has these stretches where he goes good and bad for Edwin Diaz, because that's kind of what you get with a reliever. Relievers are not this lockdown thing. Like
that's why they don't pay him the money.
And like a highest $23 million per year, which is the highest average value of all time for relievers. You just saw Ryan Hesley, who from the Mets, get a absurd contract from Baltimore. I think it was 20-something million a year, and from Baltimore after having a 7.20 ERA with the Mets last year. And you see Devin Williams going to the Mets, who struggled mightily in the big city of New York for the Yankees. So you don't know exactly what you're getting with these relievers, and hopefully for the Dodgers case he pitches well. For everyone else in the league, I hope he stinks. I hope he has a really off year. But this is one of the significant problems with baseball, and I don't know if they're going to solve it ever. The problem is that you got to have a salary cap to make it more fair for all the teams, and probably more fair for the average player and not just the superstar. Yeah, there's a big thing with him and the Edwin Diaz stuff, and the Dodgers spending all this money on him, the Dodgers being so far above whatever luxury tax is. The Phillies are now above their luxury tax at this point, because above at least their threshold.
I think I read today that they're at $240 million.
What's the threshold, 250?
I think so, yeah. I think it's 250, so, they certainly will be over it.
Well, they're also going to dump the contract of Castellanos, right?
Yeah, but they're going to have to pay some of that. Yeah. And whether they can get rid of our favorite pitcher, Taijuan Walker, could affect that in a positive way if they can dump him off to somebody else.
Angels ring a bell, maybe take him, because I feel like they take every one of us. So it's a lot of moving parts, and for that, and we're gonna go back to the start first a little bit, because with every guest that I've had on here, I've asked the first question on here is when you started watching the Phillies. And I don't think, actually, because we never really had an informal podcast that didn't exactly matter for the game, I don't think we ever actually went over that, me and you, on the podcast. So when is your first baseball memory, your first time remember watching the Phillies?
Probably around 1956, I would say. I was a Phillies fan. We used to have a open front porch in our house, and I remember my father bringing the paper home. I would get the paper and I would look at what the averages were, what the scores were, and that's probably my earliest memory, which put me around 6 or 7 years old. And I remember going to my first baseball game at Connie Mack Stadium, and the Phillies were a lousy team for many years. And during that period, they were terrible. This is the latter part of the 50s. And the first game I went to, the Phillies lost 11-2. And for some unknown reason, I was still hooked on being a Phillies fan from that point on.
Still hooked you into caring for the Phils, and you lived through some pretty bad collapses of the Phillies, and I always bring up, when people ask me about what is the biggest collapse you think of in sports history, I always bring up the story. You always tell me about the Phils and that collapse. Wasn't it
1964?
Yeah, that disaster.
They had a 6.5 game lead with 12 games left to play, and they lost 10 straight, and St. Louis won. I think St. Louis might have won 10 straight, whatever it was. they were competing with Cincinnati and St. Louis, and they lost. They lost that seemed almost certain. They had a manager, Gene Mock, who was very creative and was considered a baseball genius. And his way of managing the last 10 games of the season was to take his two best pitchers, Chris Short and Jim Bunning, and pitch them on 2 days rest.
Oh, wow.
So he did that, and it famously did not work out. And he was always trying these unique things, but it's hard to imagine today a starting pitcher going on 2 days rest, especially when there was no pitch count and they pitched, 150 pitches if they had to.
It's like the Dodgers in the World Series, and they have Yamamoto rolling him out there. It wasn't 2 days exactly. It was like less than normal, and he rolls out there, throws complete game after complete game after complete game. He's the closest we've seen lately to a guy that consistently go out there, pitch into the ninth inning, have a decent pitch count or even a high pitch count, and then come back out there a few days later and do it again. It doesn't happen very often in this league anymore.
No more. Everything's so much different. I think they throw harder. They have the pitches create a more awkward arm motion, more stress on the elbow, shoulder, and it's just a different world. But back then, you could try stuff like that, and nobody would complain. The guys, I think they had a macho type thing. They were happy to do it.
Yeah, that's something.
So I did look up one thing, and
Preparing?
my preparation was to ask a question to Google of how many Phillies games have they lost in my lifetime.
Really? That's a.
And I don't remember the exact number, but I'll give you the round number, which is 6,000.
6,000.
So I've been a Phillies fan.
More losses than wins,
Oh,
right?
yeah. 5,000 wins and 6,000 losses.
Yes. Because, of course, we can't root for a happy team as this one's being recorded the day after the Eagles disaster, we can't root for happy teams every once in a while. And then now like the Schwarber thing was able to change the motive of the city right now. Who's all mad at Hurts for throwing 4 interceptions and the whole Eagles collapse, and now we're here with it finally in a new direction for the Phils, hopefully with this guy. Now the main question here, and I've asked this to every person so far, can you or can you not run back the same core and expect a different outcome when you get to the playoffs?
I think that's what's known as the definition of insanity, right?
Correct. Now you're bringing Schwarber back. What are you changing?
As I mentioned earlier, you have to incorporate the young players, and the change has to be in the outfield. Yeah. We know that they want to get rid of Castellanos, and I assume they'll make that happen. We know I
think Castellanos doesn't want to be a part of this team either. As the way he talked he said he'd go play first base or third base again.
He did?
He talked on MLB Network and said he'll go play the infield.
Is that what he said?
Yep.
When did he say that?
A few weeks ago on MLB Network. On MLB Central, he was on there, and he said, I'll go play first base now.
With the anticipation of not being on the Phillies.
Yes.
Then. So I guess that's pretty clear.
He's fully checked out. And then there was a report from Todd Zalecki, I think it was, saying that he doesn't even would not report to spring training if he was with the Phillies. So he's just you want to get it. I don't even care if you have to pay the $20 million. He doesn't even want to be here at this point.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that, but the assumption was he wasn't going to be here no matter what.
Yeah.
And we should mention that the Phillies re-signed Topper.
Yes,
for one more year through 2027.
So he's not a sitting duck.
So he's not a lame duck.
Lame duck. I knew. I forgot what it wrote.
There's a difference between a lame duck and a sitting duck. I hope he's not as.
Okay, the dying laughing moment of the podcast. Here we go.
Yeah, right. So Topper drives me crazy with his in-game decisions, his use of the pitchers, his strategy.
Anyone who has listened to Grandpop on the podcast before knows this fact.
Yeah, so my opinion hasn't changed. However, he seems to be a great locker room manager for the team, keeping the team together. But I will say the surprising exception was Castellanos. And we don't know exactly what Castellanos said because nobody's repeating it.
Yeah.
That started the whole thing, but it must not have been good if Topper, of all people, couldn't handle it and had to use the discipline measure.
Yes, which is interesting at this point. Like there has not been a single guy that has been able to break Thompson other than Castellanos. Like the only one that's like put himself a foot out there, and I forget when it was either in. I can't remember the date when that whole thing happened. I thought it was
July, I think.
Yeah, it was mid-July, I think, because then he went down that awful slump where he couldn't hit a darn thing, and they were playing him on and off, and then it just got to the point where I don't even want to see him.
Yeah, it just
in
deteriorated
the box.
into.
It's just deteriorating into
this guy's gone.
This guy's gone. He knows he's gone. We know he's gone, and there'll be a breaking news podcast when that happens because they're not just going to release him. Probably not just going to release him. I don't think so.
They might.
If they do, that'll be an interesting podcast.
But if he makes the decision that he's not coming to spring training, then he's shooting himself in the foot because that becomes a contract, something they can do to negate the contract, I guess.
Yeah. I think they're going to try to get their goal. It has to be to try to get rid of him before we get around to that point.
No doubt.
I don't think they're going to have a problem getting rid of him. I think someone will take him because there always is. There's a team in the league dumb enough to want to take him, or he has enough value.
He does.
He has enough value to be serviceable for said team. Now, I don't think you're gonna get a playoff team that's gonna want him, but like a young team or something.
If the Phillies kick in part of his $20 million salary.
And he has promise. He's hit the ball before.
Yeah, no, he's a serviceable player. He's just not for the Phillies, and they need somebody of better quality. I know you can't stand watching his at-bats.
Oh, my goodness.
And
it's out. It's like 50 feet outside, and you're still swinging. And then you look at it nodding your head no duh, dummy, of course.
Yeah.
Of course it's a strikeout. Come on, dude. And then he takes the one that's right down the middle. What are we doing here?
But to continue, so the outfield is where... follow up on your question. The outfield is where they have to be different. So we know he's going to be gone. We don't know center field, although we have the possibility of Marsh as a platoon player, which is not my favorite thing.
Neither is mine.
And we have the left field to resolve. And
right
Weston Wilson.
Right field to resolve. If Castellanos goes, right field is.
Well, taking that, we know we have to replace Castellanos. I moved on to center field.
Okay, I didn't notice you.
Okay. Now I'm moving on to left field. Weston Wilson is just, as we've said in the past, a guy that we don't want.
Yes, either we don't want. Yes, he had a cool moment. I was at his first home run game. They had a no-hitter on that day. Both of those guys since then have been a complete piece of garbage.
Okay, so that doesn't mean we play him in the World Series.
No, that wasn't really helpful. That whole World Series, we don't have to remember that. We don't need to go back and remember getting no hit. That was not fun.
So the outfield is where it's up to Dombrowski and Middleton and the Phillies to reconstruct it. And they have some minor leaguers.
So they have options.
Put there. Somebody said on the radio, I think this morning, that maybe they should take Trey Turner and convince him to play center field and use.
It's an option.
Who's the shortstop in the minor leagues?
There's a Aiden Miller.
Aiden Miller's
a third baseman or shortstop.
Oh, no, they were talking about maybe getting rid of Stott and getting a free agent. And
at this point, I can't grade anyone for coming up with ideas because you got to try something. You're running the same thing back and forth. So you got to try. It might sound radical or this far or like a far thing here, but it doesn't, like a far out idea, but like.
But you know what the point is?
Changing it up.
Yeah, the point is they have a lot of latitude to make significant changes, even though they're running back a lot of the core.
Harper. Ooh, JT has not been talked about.
That's
the big
that's
one.
the next one.
That's the next one. That's the next domino to fall if you're the Phillies. Like I've said in the last one, I'm going to keep saying this until it happens. They need to bring him back.
I agree.
They cannot. I feel like I've said this every week, but I have to. They cannot. What is the backup plan? What is the backup plan when he goes away?
I think if for some reason they don't sign him, they're going to have to create a backup plan.
Because they don't have one right here, right now. They don't have a backup plan. Unless, I cannot watch Rafael Marchand and Garrett Stubbs field a season.
No, although both are decent defensively.
They can't hit at all.
They can't hit. You don't expect a lot out of a catcher, but even a declining JT
is
better than the whole bunch. Not only the possibilities for the Phillies, but on many other teams.
So, JT hasn't got a lot of stuff around him, like a bunch of different teams, at least publicly, has been said that he's got a lot of different teams looking at him. I know Boston had a good look at him, and they were saying that about him. But other than that, I haven't seen much.
I heard or I read that he probably would settle for a 2-year deal.
I think that was a Tim Kelly report or something.
It was out the past few days. I saw that.
It was a Phillies Nation report from Tim Kelly or Destiny Largo.
If that's a 2-year deal with him, that's good.
It's exactly what you want. And then maybe some of these guys, catchers, some of these minor leaguers that you have will get a little closer in the next 2 years. Like Eduardo Tate, I think, is a catcher. Caleb's going to get mad because I'm not going to know these. But Caleb
knows all these players. I don't
leaguers.
know any.
Yeah, I think Caleb Ricketts, and Eduardo Tate. I think that Tate
sounds like a disease.
Tate might actually be gone. Tate might be on the Twins. He might have gone to the Twins in the Duran deal or something. But I know they have one catcher in the minors, and maybe they're looking to produce him. But there's not much catcher talent in baseball, which people don't really notice. There's not much other than JT, JT's still in a top list of catchers because there's not that many great catchers out there. You got Will Smith out there in L.A., who was hurt most of the second half of the year and then came back and was a wonder in the playoffs. Adley Rutschman in Baltimore. He's been a pretty good catcher lately. Austin Wells is somewhat decent, but you go rest of the league, you're not really your catchers aren't these vocal points at teams right now because there are not that many great catchers. They just kind of move around a lot. Darno's moves
There's only
around.
one great one.
Did I miss someone?
Seattle?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's one great. Kyle Raleigh. I don't know how I forgot that. My fantasy powerhouse last year saved my life in fantasy, kept me kind of going in both leagues. I drafted him because I liked his last name. So, drafted him because I liked his last name, and
it's better than Ricketts.
It suited me well. So, yeah, there's not Ohapi. They traded away their young catcher, Ohapi, to the Angels, which might hurt them in the future, but, we're trying to live in the moment here for the Phils, and a lot of living in the moment stuff. And I'm going to go back to the outfield quick. Is you have all those openings. You have Justin Crawford. Most likely, people assume that he's going to make the big league thing. I think I've said
they
this.
have to. Or are they going to put him in the minor leagues for another year?
I don't think
and
he
watch
plays
him hit
field.
singles.
I don't think he plays center
Okay,
field.
put him in left. I don't care where you put him.
I think he'll probably play
put him
right
in right.
field. I think he'll probably play right field. He does have a very high ground ball rate, which we've said a lot. So we'll see. I think they'd probably he just can't be as unserviceable as Johan Rojas when he comes up.
If Rojas is anywhere near this team,
I forgot he's still down there. He's still down there.
And even Dombrowski mentioned him in that end of the year press conference, which made me ill.
As if you're not a resident normal listener of these podcasts and you've only joined us for these guest series, you do not know the absolute hatred we all have on here. As the main core three of us do not like Johan Rojas at all, and he's. Again, because he's still on the team, like I've said for a while now, for the last year or so, as long as he's in the minor leagues or with the team, they're going to keep trying to give him a shot.
Why don't they trade him?
That's what you either trade him or release him. Getting off the team, then he can't be a problem. Then he can't be.
Get him off the roster.
Just get him off the roster, and he's going to probably be at spring training.
He's proven that he can hit.
He can hit in the minor leagues. He's a great minor league.
It has nothing to do with it.
That's the point. Yes. Has nothing to do with it, but he can hit in the minor leagues. And they keep looking at that like, oh, why can't you do the majors? Because he can't. Some
pitching.
people are minor league
Yeah,
players.
the pitching's a lot different and he's had a sufficient amount of time, a sufficient number of at bats to prove he stinks, and his fielding is way over touted.
Overrated, yeah.
Yeah, it's overrated. They tout
good.
him as some kind. It's good, but after watching Bader play center field,
It's going to be a hard back.
you could see the
yeah.
difference. And there's another possibility. Bader, I wouldn't have a problem if they signed Bader.
He's not going to give you at all the offensive power he gave you last year.
He's not, but if
he's
you
gonna
look at
give
his
you the
value,
defense.
yeah, his value as a excellent Gold Glove type center fielder is different than Rojas.
Yes.
Because at his
That's what they thought Rojas would have been.
and that's fine. But Rojas, number one, is not as good a fielder as Bader, and hitting anybody's better.
Yeah, they Bader contract. I didn't get that one here exactly. Like I didn't get this that on this stat, but I think we had something about Bader and his contract value that was in the latest MLB article. I'll have to look that up a different day. But his contract value, you might get like a 2-year deal somewhere. He's been.
I think he's looking for 3 or 4 years.
He's not going to get a 3 or 4 year deal.
I hope not.
Because I don't think he's going to. Because number one, if the Phils sign him to a 4-year deal, we might have to just throw our hands up
They
in
won't.
the air.
They definitely
cannot do that.
won't. You still have to, the old thing, you have to look at the back of the baseball card.
Back of the baseball card, he hasn't been on the same team for that long of a
That's
time.
another thing. You have to just keep track of the teams. That's hard enough. But as far as his production, it's going to be basically what the average is.
Yeah. Now, does that second half of the year for him help him in the market?
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah, but nobody's jumping on getting him. But he's the kind of guy that may linger until January, for God's sake.
Yeah. Now, the Phils' next priority, now that they got Schwarber, has to be Real Muto, and then you have to kind of look around. I don't think, and I haven't brought this up in the last 2 weeks. I don't think, because it's all been Schwarber talk, the bullpen, I don't know what you have to do there, because you get Alvarado back for the bullpen. You have Kerkering up there, who is very, very good.
Who's mentally unstable.
At this point, but hopefully turns that around. Duran's been the back end of the bullpen. You got him for a full year. And then you have
Strom,
yeah, I forgot about him. So you got those 4 guys. If Alvarado, the wild thing that he is pretty good wild most of the time, but, he can have his ups and downs. Because the last full year he was really good, and then it just didn't really pan out. You got the
he was probably
suspension.
on PEDs.
Then it made me hard to want to root for him during that, which was frustrating. And now we're here, and I don't know no Jordan Romano. Thank the heavens, so we don't have to deal with him again.
We put him in the Rojas pile.
Put him and Kepler, and put them all in the Rojas
Kepler's
pile.
another one.
Kepler's gone. Thank you, everybody. Weston Wilson's still here because, of course, there's the guys that we just throw in this other pile. And relievers, I want to see what you
there's
think.
somebody else. They have a reliever that's Tyler Banks.
Tanner Banks. Tanner Banks. He was actually pretty good.
He was decent.
Oh, and David Robertson's probably not coming.
David Robertson, I wouldn't get anywhere near him. Although it's Topper's fault.
Well, we keep bringing him back. It's been 3 years of him.
I've had enough of him, but it's Topper's. He was okay until he put him back in the playoffs.
Yeah, but he's been on this team almost every time we make a deep playoff run. He's back on the team. He was half in retirement almost. He didn't have a team until the middle of August. There's a reason he didn't have a team until the middle of August. Yeah. Middle of July, whenever he got signed. So hopefully, with Duran in the back end, what do you see with the bullpen?
I see those
4
I
guys.
think 4 plus 5 Banks.
Yeah.
I see a decent core, and that's so less of a problem. Yeah. Pitching is pretty decent for the Phillies, but they got to work on the offense, and that's what'll make the team different, where you're not running the same thing back, And they have enough latitude there with the outfield and maybe some changes in the minor. I don't know what they're going to do with third base
That's my next question.
if they're really considering making changes there. But they do have they got this all in front of them. They got the core players that they want, and they just have to make the other pieces fit. And when you win or are successful in the playoffs, you usually get some fresh faces and some unexpected things happen with the players. And if you guess right, you can do it. If you're wrong, well, you're no worse than they've always been, not making it.
Yeah, so you did, with that, you segued greatly into the infield question, because you have Alec Boehm, who Dombrowski talked high of today.
He did?
When he had yes, I was not able to fully read.
I didn't hear
was not
that.
able to fully read the article yet, but there was an article about Alec Boehm and saying that he believes he has high expectations for him or something for this year. For Alec Boehm.
And he may be right. That's fair.
Which, for good reason, there's nothing really there to say why he wouldn't have good, high expectations in him. I just would love for him to hit the ball out of the ballpark a little more, drive the ball a little more, but that's not his play.
He's a decent player, and the only thing, if you trade him, it would be for somebody who you feel has a superior opportunity or chance
to drive the ball,
that they'll be more productive. He was a good RBI guy until it really counted. And then he was nothing. He was zero. It's like he didn't exist. He can't run, but he's okay. He's got a decent bat, but he has no power.
This is the last year of his contract, so everyone knows that.
That's another factor.
That's another factor in all of this.
And if you could swap it for somebody who you feel would actually make a better contribution to the team, then fair enough. But these are tough decisions.
Yeah.
And
it's not an easy offseason that the Phillies are in.
No, and I think Dombrowski is a very qualified person to lead it. Yeah. I just hope there's enough input and ability to put together the right team for these pieces that we're talking about that we don't know who they are.
Yeah. Now, for that like the other persons in the infield, we have Turner, who had a great hitting season, had a great turnaround season last season for his career, for his way out with the Phils here. Better defensive season, just a better season all around. He'll be back normally. Then you have second base, which has been Stott and will probably stay Bryson Stott, but that's one that no one really talks about, in the fact that Stott didn't hit the ball.
He didn't, and
he did not hit the ball in the game at most of the season last year. And his defense has been
his defense is
amazing.
Fantastic.
Hasn't awarded him a Gold Glove because Nico Horner exists, because I still don't understand why that keeps happening. Nico Horner for the Cubs keeps getting the Gold Glove over Bryson Stott.
Stott deserves it, and that's his biggest plus. He's a really, really good second baseman. And you can see it in games that he makes these plays that would be hits for other second baseman.
And then now you would hope something comes over in his at-bats, who looked great when he first came up. He was really always good at working pitchers, and he still is pretty good at working at-bats. But the problem is you have to work an at-bat, then you have to do something with that at-bat. Working the at-bat and then striking out, right, or working the at-bat and then grounding out to third base or double play, that's not really helpful.
Right. If your value is the only thing you can do is get the pitch count up for the opposing pitcher, that has its limitations.
Yes. Now, yes, he can work those. Stott is one of the players on the team that can work that 8-9 pitch
Absolutely.
at bat.
He can, and that's a useful thing. But you still, at the end, if you strike out,
it's not remembered as well.
Yeah.
Big moments. So that's a question for them. And then you have probably the biggest elephant in the room in the team is Harper's production.
Yeah,
because I don't think we're getting back to that crazy power Harper again. I would love it. Shock me next year. Give me back.
I don't know.
But
because
I don't know if
of his injuries,
back and arm.
I can discount this year, and if he comes back healthy, This guy is such a great hitter and a great player. The thing that bothered me this year was his approach. He has such a good eye. This year, he did something different to my watching, was that he would swing early in the count for just to swing at a first or second pitch, and then it would get, even if it was an 0-2 count, he'd work his way back to a full count rather well because he used his natural ability to see pitches. And for some reason, he put himself in the hole. I think he needs a little bit different approach. I don't know why he did that. I never saw him do that before. And I have confidence in him. He's such a great player. I have confidence that he's going to be better next season.
Yeah, we got to the point where Schwarber was the best hitter in the clubhouse.
Absolutely.
And we are there, and I don't think ever Harper thought we were going to be there where he had a better
well,
player
that's why he's getting his $30 million.
up there. And yeah, so Schwarber having him back, and it's kind of like go all full circle. So I want to get a little bit off of just the Phillies because there's a lot of other baseball news in general. And the first thing that comes up is the Dodgers and the Mets losing Edwin Diaz and replacing him with Devin Williams. Well, I talked about last time, and the Mets said that they were said on a press conference that they were trying very hard to re-sign Edwin Diaz, but Devin Williams was a backup plan.
How is it possible that they lost Diaz?
I have
This
no
is a
idea.
team that seems to be willing to pay anything for anybody, and they have their best reliever, and they decide, okay, well, we're going to lose him to all teams. We're going to lose him to the Dodgers.
Losing Dodgers, you're also probably going to lose Alonso, who's one of your best offensive performance players. Yes, I will root for the Mets' downfall, but I just want to sit there and think about it for a second that you say you have all this money and you say you want to spend all this money, but you can't get your top two players back here.
I'm not convinced that they're going to lose Alonso.
Yeah, well, they almost lost him and they brought him back on a cheaper deal because he took less money and come back with them, but I think he probably is going to go somewhere else.
If somebody gives it to him.
Yeah.
But he's not that good as a first baseman, and that's a detriment to his future ability to make money. I see that as a problem.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, and always good to have him on the Mets because sometimes he'll falter in front of your eyes. He'll make a bad swing or whatever, but he does normally crush. He had a
great year. There's
so you
no
would think he
question
would get
about it.
money go somewhere else if the amount of
I think it's going to be the Mets because especially who are they going to if they wanted Schwarber, then they're not getting him.
They knew they probably weren't getting Schwarber.
So the next best one
is Alonso.
Is Alonso, and they already had him. So what were they paying him? He had an opt out, right?
Yes, he opted. He opted out last year. And then they brought him back anyway for 1 year.
Was it just a 1 year,
or
was it not? Okay.
Pretty sure it was a 1 year. I don't know that exactly.
Well, here's another one. How about Alex Bregman?
That's
This guy opted out of 2 more years at $40 million.
What do you think you're getting?
What is he going to get? Is he going to get $50 million a year for 5 years? What's he, nuts?
If he thinks he's getting that, I don't know who in their right mind is going to pay him that because he's not 23-year-old Alex Bregman.
How old is he?
I think he's probably 25 or 26. I don't know.
He's older than that,
30.
I think.
I think he's in his early 30s. Your phone's on the tripod.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I think he's 30. I think he's 30.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or 31. I just. How do you opt out of 2 years at $40 million?
I have no idea. And I don't know what you think you're getting somewhere else.
What's he going to get? 3 years at $40 million?
3 years, $50 million. You think that's better? It's not.
Who's going to pay him $50 million?
I don't know. And it better not. And I'm just saying, better not be here.
Well, if let's say you get into, and sometimes you do, you get into February.
And he's not
and
signed.
these guys aren't signed. Like, well, I don't know didn't Alonso sign really late last year?
Yeah, well, this is going to be a little weird this year also. That I was going to bring this up. The World Baseball Classic is this year again.
Oh, yeah, and they said Schwarber was going to play in it.
Schwarber's going to play in that. Gunnar Henderson. They've got a really good American team. That is in March, in like March 4th or 5th. 6th. It might be March 6th to March 20th or something like that.
So what happens to their teams?
Spring training? What do you mean?
Okay. I'm sorry.
This happens during
That's
this
right.
happens during spring training.
I'm still
Yeah.
okay.
So it happens during spring training, but you see a lot of players want to get signed before that
So they can
comes
play.
around, so they can either play in that and then get ready with their team, like get ready with the team in spring before that in February, and get like stuff done. I remember
Okay.
last time we had these playoffs.
So that ends before spring training.
Before regular season starts. It gives you about 6 days once it ends, and then spring training will start. But
Okay, so it's like a spring training exercise for these players.
Yeah, in like big, huge moments with a bunch of
Oh,
people
that's cool.
watching,
Okay.
which is cool. And last year it was United States and Japan, and we might be seeing that same thing because these two teams are probably the best two teams here.
Good point. You brought up Japan.
Yes, and Japan players.
Yes. What do you think
I think
about
the Phillies
that?
have zero shot on any of the guys because they don't have any Japanese presence, and no one wants to come all the way over here. They're gonna either
West
go to
Coast?
Chicago or San Diego, or the Dodgers, of course. But I think they're all West Coast, San Francisco, Seattle, before they even come over this direction. If Ohtani went to the Blue Jays when that big contract came, I think we would see a full shift in the way these Japanese players are perceived to go like Eastern or like to the West Coast. I think if Ohtani ended up going to the Blue Jays, then we would have saw a full different like twist in like Japanese players would all be going to the Yankees and going to the Red Sox and Philly and all these other teams out this way. That's just the janitor in the back there.
Okay.
So, Murakami, I think, will end up in San Francisco or in Seattle.
So we should take, in your opinion, we should take our thoughts about possibly signing one of the Japanese players
I think so.
off the table.
Yes. They did offer the big, huge contract to Yamamoto, and he picked the Dodgers. They gave him a big contract. They're probably going to put money out there for the Imada guy. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but they're probably going to put money out there because he's been back-to-back MVPs, I think, out in Japan. So, like, he's a good pitcher. And why not, if he's a good pitcher on the market, at least try. Put some value out there.
Yeah, but the
try.
Phillies need to spend money elsewhere.
Yes, but I think Murakami, if he came here, would be very frustrating as a player to watch.
And by the way, just mentioning pitchers briefly, if they don't start Painter in the major leagues, I'm going to scream.
Ranger Suarez, is he coming back?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So
But
you
they
need Painter to start.
They need Painter to start, and even if he's not great, they have to pitch him.
He's going to get old.
Yeah,
get
it's
older,
going
he's
to be
gonna be
one
Ryan
of those.
Howard.
Right, it's going to be Ryan Howard again, and then they're going to say he's going to pitch a year, and then they're going to say, well, the guy's getting old. What do you mean he's getting old? He kept him in the minor leagues for 10 years. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's interesting, and there's just a bunch of now we're finally, that was what they're saying. Once the Schwarber domino falls, the rest of it's going to keep going. And we're going to start going, and it was literally Schwarber signs, then 5 minutes later Edwin Diaz gets the contract from the Mets, so they weren't kidding when the ball's rolling. I wouldn't be surprised if something else might have happened already today.
Okay, well, I hope it's JT.
Haven't seen it yet, but I hope there's other things coming for these other teams. And for me, my sake, the Mets actually just saw a report about them looking at Michael King, and I just want to cry at that. Being a Padres fan, they don't have any pitching. There's no pitching on that team. No pitching. Everyone's gone, and JP Sears with his 5 ERA is the 4-starter or 3-starter. Great, love it.
Too
Love
bad
it.
you worry about San Diego. I know.
I've been watching the Padres long enough that I can root for them. I think I've been watching their games since before I even started hardly following the Phillies. I was watching a lot of Padres games, which is strange.
Well, when I was young, I used to like the Giants because of the players I had on them.
Yes.
Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda,
I watched the Padres for the wrong
Juan
reason.
Marichal. They had some great players, but mainly it was Willie Mays attracted me.
The Padres had some bad players. I just liked their names, so I started watching them, like Hunter Renfroe and Will Myers and a bunch of these guys. I remember the old Padres teams. And
Okay, well, that's a stupid reason.
I know. And now we're here with some decent Padres teams with zero pitching. And Dylan Cease is gone. Michael King is a free agent. They're looking at trading their number one. Nick Pivetta is their number one starter. That's where we've got to.
Yeah, he's decent.
He's decent. He's not a number one.
No.
But he's their number one in their roster chart. So a lot of moves to be made over the winter meetings and to go through with all this stuff. So I think I hit everything Phillies-wise. We hit the new news. And next week I'll have Brielle on this to talk about baseball.
Good.
And we will see where we go from there. Maybe we'll have more moves. Maybe JT will be signed. Castellanos might be gone. We got still a lot more dominoes to fall in this offseason. So anything else you wanted to say here?
I would just say final thoughts are I don't think there's going to be baseball in 2027.
Yep. We're just going to not think about that one yet.
So that's one of those things, okay, we'll think about today and not tomorrow. But my final thought is this coming season may be the final season.
Yes, for a little bit. We might not see. I don't think probably won't see any baseball in 27.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, wouldn't be shocked, or we have a really shortened season and a bunch of people are pissed off.
Because this issue of
With
salary cap
is so big.
And both sides are pretty adamant.
So far apart.
And we'll see.
Well, we'll see. Well, for now, we'll see about winter meetings. We'll see about this upcoming season, and maybe the Phils can make some moves. So with that being said, I am Kevin Flannery, alongside my grandfather, Grandpop, joining us. And next week, we'll have Brielle on here. Have a great night. I would say go Birds, but I'm not really happy enough to say go Birds. So have a good one.